Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply, and this video is to bring you a closer look at the Donjo number OSLP-107 EBF SL silver powder-coated steel latch guard. I have one removed from the packaging, so let's take a closer look at the actual item. And if you know the name Donjo, you do for probably two reasons. U-shaped door reinforcing wraparound plates and latch guards or latch protectors. And that's certainly what this model is. This is an OSLP-107. And all of that conspires to mean its size and primarily its shape. Or I should say, initially what you're going to be looking for is a shape of an item. And this is a model that features an inset like this, or would permit a door. They call it offset because this is certainly offset, but it's there to permit an inset of a door where it's inset into the frame deeper than standard, or it's offset to account for some sort of applied thick material on the outside, extra trim, or a wall condition, some sort of a detail between the frame and the wall that can't be modified to use a standard latch guard. This may also be used, or this concept is also used in doors that are center hung, and they would obviously swing in one direction where you need to have a greater offset to account for that. So a standard latch guard is going to work obviously where you have, just going to make a quick sketch here. An application just like that. Okay, nothing unusual about that inside of the door. It's just typical. It could be flush, or it could be inset ever so slightly. Well, if you have, let's go with the wall condition scenario. Where you have something additional applied, okay? That could be representative of brick mold. It could be representative of the fact that when the frame was put on, attached to the wall was brought up to the face of the frame, and basically now the frame kind of looks like it's an extension of the work that was done to bring the wall detail back to the face of the frame, which is what's going to necessitate obviously an offset like that. Okay, just sketch in our latch guard like that, as you can see. Okay, now the other instance I had mentioned, and I don't really, you're not going to see this one often, but where you have a door that could be single acting or could be double acting. If you have a center hung door and it's there's a center hung pivot and it's centered in the jamb, sometimes you need that latch protector to get around the fact that the door has a unusually deep inset. You would really need, if the offset of this plate was 3/4, let's say that you are looking at maybe a jamb depth of about 3 inch, something very small. So if this was 3 inch and your door was 1 3/4, you might have about a 5/8 requirement here to have an offset. So this 3/4 offset would work. And I have certainly seen latch protectors installed in this type of scenario, but they will generally have a larger offset. And there has been in the past a manufacturer who's made those with a greater offset, and whether or not Donjo manufactures it, which we'll take a look now. Actually, there's a link below this video to the product catalog where we can pull up all of these models. I would like to see if they have a greater offset that would allow you to use. Yeah, they do. They certainly do. They have specifically the OLP 2650, which is for which will have an 1 1/8 offset. They have the OLP-2651 that is available in an 1 3/8 offset. So if we did our math on an 1 3/8 offset, let's say that the usable offset would be 1 1/4. So you could realistically be starting to look at frames that are 4.5 inch deep, you know, something more in that range, 4 inch deep. So same sort of concept where you'll see an offset. Generally, the 3/4 offset is when someone orders this, well, they ultimately order it. They'll call and say, you know, my door isn't flush with the outside of the frame. Well, why is that the case? Well, because they added jamb extensions. Or, you know, we did some detail work. Okay, well, you've got a couple of choices. You can modify the frame by cutting it, chiseling it, routing it, so that you can use a flat latch guard. Or, what is your offset? How far inset is the door from the outside? You know, and if you're looking in this range of it being 3/4 inch, if you have 3/4 inch, this plate is not going to work as it should, because this offset is 3/4 inch. You'd like to have a little bit of margin there, so be mindful of that. You might need to be creative at how you end up ultimately go about making this work. But those are the applications that I see them in. Now, the link to the product catalog, we're going to touch on that again in a moment. The link below this video to the template will give us all of the dimensional properties of the item. That 7 in the part number is certainly going to mean that 7-inch overall height. The overall width of the unit, they have it at 2 5/8. I'd say that would be accurate. They show that that offset is 3/4 inch, and I would say that that would be accurate. What we didn't measure earlier, you've got about 2 inch of the latch guard itself before it will make that bend. So now you can put yourself in a relationship of where this needs to be in relationship to the edge of the door compared to where you'll fall here. This is a 1 5/16 radius, so that's going to have a 2 5/8 diameter. What that means is you're going to be able to accommodate grade 1, grade 2 lever rose trim. That's a large prep on that sort of door on this latch protector, so be mindful you'll be able to handle that quite well. One other dimension, just from the absolute center area to where the door is going to start, looks like it's about 11/16, I would say. So you're going to be able to, well, maybe a little bit less, about 5/8. So you know how far over, how much room you're going to need to fit that in from there to there between my finger and thumb. Okay. Now this is an SL. It is powder coated silver paint over steel. Available in different finishes. They can do a brass plating over steel. They can do a chrome plating over steel. They can do a DU, which is a Duranautic, which would be a dark brown powder coat. SL. And then they can do a 630. And 630, the first 4 are all going to be steel, or at least I expect they would be. The 630 would be solid stainless with a satin finish. Solid stainless steel with a satin brushed finish on it. They say that it is 12 gauge, which according to their template is 104 thousandths. My caliper tells me this is 0.105, so spot on. Elsewhere in the part number, we are seeing the letters EBF. EBF. That's what EBF looks like. So the question is, what is EBF? EBF is very likely what you would require to use to get this latch guard installed in an application where you need a trim, thin head on the inside of the door. Typical carriage bolt, my guess is that's 3/8. Typical carriage bolt. Okay. Nothing to get out there. It's a carriage bolt, so it's got a square profile. The EBF head is a really thin head. Why have that? Who cares? Well, the bottom line is this. The other option is a large acorn nut, which you may not want, a large acorn nut. When you open your door, you're going to have an acorn nut sitting off the door. That may not be what you have in mind. Or the other instance, and really where you're going to find the use of an EBF fastener is, and forgive me, but another sketch is coming. And I don't think it would really be the case with this unit, and I've drawn, this doesn't really apply. Here we go. Okay, so you see what we've got here. This large drawing is what we're dealing with. And what we're describing here is, depending on the latch guard, depending on the installation, you may or may not benefit from an EBF style fastener, because I'm just going to amend this drawing that I've made. Okay, here's your bolt going through. Okay. Now, if you have an application where your latch guard moves those bolts, moves that location much closer, you need that thin head, because you could probably make an acorn nut fit here, but when it's closer to the face of the stop, that's where that really thin head comes in. There is a margin between the face of the door and the face of the stop when the door is in the closed position. It's probably 3/32, right in that range. The thickness of this head is 0.112, so just less than 1/8 of an inch, 0.112. Obviously, Allen key driven. The bolt length is going to be appropriate for an 1 3/4 inch thick door. If you have an unusual door thickness, either thinner, cut that bolt down, thicker, go buy longer carriage bolts. So you'll be able to make this work really easy on an 1 3/4 inch thick door. Okay. Threading it all the way down just to see how far it will go before it bottoms out. I don't think it'll get to 1 3/8 inches. Yeah, it doesn't. About 1.5 inches would be the maximum. The minimum door thickness before you're going to have to get a shorter bolt or cut it. And that's what the EBF is for. Not the most common way to do it, but as far as I'm concerned, for whatever it's worth, I would use only EBF fasteners. I would not want a large acorn nut on the inside of the unit. Generally, you'll see a lock washer underneath it as well, or a flat washer. Less projecting hardware is always preferable. I could imagine getting your door open to 90 degree, and now you've got 7/16 worth of bolt hanging off the face of the door. That's unsightly. So anyway, personal opinion. And you can do EBF fasteners on most all of these sorts of latch guards from Don Joe. Now back to that product catalog. As you scroll through there, you need a latch guard. Okay, if you need a latch guard and it's an outswing, you're probably going to gravitate towards the LP 111, LP 211 model, the PLP 111, the PLP 211. Outswing, typical garden variety. Those are going to be the ones that you'll use. You get into inswing, you really only have a couple of choices. It will be I think they're ILP. .206 and 202. ILP-206, ILP-202. That's all you're going to get for inswing. If you have a requirement for something that isn't suited by the common unit, that's when you start scrolling through the catalog, or that's when you contact us and say, here's my application, what can you recommend? Because we simply have more experience and familiarity with clients calling up saying, hey, I've got this weird wall detail, and the door is normal. It's just they've added some stuff. Okay, here's what you need. Use something unusual. So we've got lots of descriptions here to show how we might go about using the unit. That catalog, very handy. Different lock applications will call out different latch protectors as well, meaning what type of lock is on the door and how you go about solving it via latch protector. That will all conspire. I like the NLP series, narrow commercial type. They're very petite. They don't take up a lot of room. They're not really conspicuous. Those are nice. We sell those NLP models relatively often. The OSLP, not so often. That's a particular situation. Scrolling through the rest of this, you've got some aluminum storefront specific models, etc., etc. Finally, there's a link below this video to the manufacturer's page where you can pull up not only all of the Danjo products that we sell, but also a link to the manufacturer's website, as well as a link to the full product catalog and the individual product catalogs, meaning we've taken the full product catalog and just given you the top categories. If you're looking for latch protectors, just go to the latch protector section. If you know Danjo, again, you know them for two things: door reinforcing wraparound plates and latch protectors. But a trip through their catalog would be well worthwhile because they make a lot more than just that stuff. A relatively comprehensive provider of all things trim and auxiliary hardware related. A independent company, not under some multinational, multi-billion-dollar corporate umbrella. The person who answers the phone is the person who can answer the technical question, tell you where your stuff is, get an answer to a sales question. And it's nice. It's old-fashioned hardware, and the people that are there have been there forever, and they know their business. The rare occasion that they make a mistake, they make it good without complication. Very often, not very often, very infrequently, something will get shipped wrong. Okay, taken care of, and that's that's what you need from a trim and auxiliary provider. Any questions on the OSLP-107 and an SL finish or any other Danjo product? Please feel free to reach out to us, and thank you.